Hey guys, welcome back. It's Redox, and in this video I want to talk about update 1.2.4 that came out yesterday for CNC Rivals. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. The first change is the Rifleman. Damage increased to 38 was 30. This will allow Riflemen to win against Shockwave Troopers and Flame Troopers in a 2v1 situation. So that's a big deal because before this patch, the Riflemen would, even if you had two riflemen, so they would die to a shockwave or a flame trooper. It was almost impossible to take out flame troopers or shockwaves with riflemen unless your rifleman levels were significantly higher. But now the rifleman is quite stronger, and two rifleman unit will take down one of these heavy infantry units, which means right now the meta favors where you don't use the rifleman. So most of the players are not using the rifleman right now. But this buff will allow more players to go for the Rifleman build because now the Rifleman is slightly stronger. You can pump out a Rifleman way earlier in the game than can you pump out a Shockwave or a Flame. So by the time your opponent gets a Shockwave or a Flame out, you might already have three Riflemen on the battlefield, and you just have to get two of them to attack Focus Fire Shockwave, and the enemy Shockwave will die, right? So now you have a better chance of standing against the enemy anti-infantry units with the basic rifleman unit. So this is a pretty good buff for the rifleman. I think it was sort of needed. I think the rifleman did sort of need a buff because the rifleman just felt a little bit too weak, and even I stopped using the rifleman, and it wasn't just me. Most of the players stopped using the rifleman, and then they just brought in the shockwave and the missile squad, for example. But now this will allow players to maybe not even go for a shockwave. You might even be able to drop out the shockwave card and then put in a rifleman card because the rifleman might be good enough. And if the rifleman is too strong though, right? Because I want to see how strong the rifleman is right now, so I'll have to play some games and see exactly how powerful they are. But if they're too strong, then that's gonna make the shockwave and the flame troopers obsolete. So then in that case, the rifleman will probably need a nerf again. But I think the rifleman getting a buff was a good idea because a lot of the players stopped using the rifleman, even myself, because there was no need to bring them. Especially as soon as you build one, your opponent is going to have like a shockwave, and the shockwave can take on 2 to 3 riflemen, because the shockwaves are very strong. They're very strong at killing infantry units. So this is pretty good. Good to see that now we can actually try to kill shockwaves with riflemen. So I want to see how this goes. But let's go take a look at the second pointer here. The Talon. Damage versus infantry increased to 55, was at 50. This helps push Talon into a stronger anti-infantry unit, especially against units such as the Shockwave Troopers and Flame Troopers. And before the Talon, it took the Talon quite a longer time to kill Shockwaves and Flame Troopers. So it's good to see that this small damage increase on the Talon will allow the Talon to fight against the Shockwave and Flame Troopers easier than before. The Talon will kill them faster. And not only that, but the Talon can also now stand up against missile squads, laser squads, a little bit better as well. And I think this was a good buff for the Talon because I think the Talon's main job is to counter the infantry units, while it also has light anti-air capabilities. But the Talon functions more kind of like the Venom. But the Venom was more powerful and a bit more faster at killing infantry units than the Talon could. But now with this buff, because the Talon costs the same amount as the Venom, they're both 30 crystals. Venom being basically the Talon of the Nod faction without the anti-air capability. I think the Venom may need a buff as well, if the Talon's getting a buff, because the Talon can attack air, right? So the Talon will instantly counter a Venom and other infantry units on the ground, while the Venom doesn't do any air damage. So you can't fight back against the Talon with just the Venom. Even though the Venom, I don't know if the Venom now has a higher damage against infantry. It did have higher damage than Talon before this patch because the Venom would attack faster. So I don't know how much better the Talon is compared to the Venom right now. But all I can say is I feel like the Venom needs a bit of a buff, maybe a stronger anti-infantry damage, or maybe it needs to have an anti-air weapon. I feel like the Venom needs something else, just like the Talon does, especially if the Talon's getting a buff, and if the Talon suddenly becomes a lot stronger to infantry units, just like the Venom, then the Venom is just not as cost efficient, right? Being at the same, they cost the same 30 crystals, but the Talon does the same thing, but it can also attack air. So clearly we see an imbalance there, right, between Nod and GDI light air units. So I think this was a good buff for the Talon, but it makes me question about how the Venom will function, where the Venom sits, you know, if the Talon's like this. But once again, I have to see how exactly strong the Talon is right now, because obviously this patch just rolled out and maybe the Talon isn't any stronger. All right, the third unit is the Rhino. Attack speed increased to 1 from 0.85. This change allows Rhinos to take down infantry a bit faster, and I think the Rhino did need a bit of a buff like this because it took a really long time to kill infantry units sometimes with the Rhino, and definitely having some of this buff here will allow the Rhino to stand up against infantry units a bit better, which the Rhino is supposed to do, right? Because I've had many times where I try to use the Rhino and they were just poor against infantry units. They just couldn't take them down fast enough, and it would cost me some games here and there. So this was definitely a needed buff for the Rhino. Now, this once again also questions, it makes me question on the Buggy, which is the Nod counterpart of the Rhino. Buggy being the same thing, but it's faster moving and has less health, but it does have a higher attack damage than the Rhino. So the Buggy is a harder hitting unit, but the Buggy does relatively also die quick. I mean, it does die quicker than the Rhino. You can kill off a Buggy quicker than a Rhino just because the Buggy's weaker, of course. But it also kind of just makes me question about where the Buggy is sitting right now, because obviously nothing about the Buggy has been done so far in this from what I'm reading, because I'm still in the GDI section, but I believe nothing was done for the Buggy. So we'll have to see exactly where the Rhino is sitting and where the Buggy is sitting, just like the Talon and the Venom. And hopefully EA can do something about those other two Nod units if they need something. But we'll see exactly where these two units are sitting at right now with this current patch. Now let's take a look at the Nod. Militants, same thing as the Riflemen. They got the same damage increase because Militants are the same unit, so it only makes sense Militants get a buff like this as well. So they can also 2v1 Shockwaves and Flames. And then the Flame Tank got a nerf. Speed decreased to 5.5 from 6.9. So wow, that's a big speed decrease, and the health decreased to 3,050 from 3,500, and it also got a major health nerf again. So I mean, from EA's point, they're saying this change will give players more time to respond to a Flame Tank attacking their base. Yeah, sure, that makes sense. The lower health will also make it easier to destroy. I don't really know how I feel about this. As somebody who likes using a Flame Tank, and it's not because, oh, you know, the reason why I'm saying I don't like this nerf is because as someone who uses the Flame Tank a lot, and as someone who's played against the Flame Tank a lot, from my point of view, after the first nerf, I think the Flame Tank was sitting at where it should have been. Its speed decreasing by a lot here means the Flame Tank will move a lot slower. Maybe even it might even be decreased from fast to average. You know, I want to even do a quick check on that actually, because I'm curious to see where the Flame Tank is sitting at for the speed. Yeah, it got decreased to average. Nah, that's I don't think this was not a good nerf, guys. I'm just gonna take a look at the Widowmaker here real quick. The Widowmaker is, look at this, okay? This is, my Widowmaker is at level 1 and the Flame Tank is a level 5, right? Okay, I didn't mean to switch the units there, but my Widowmaker's health is at 2,800, okay? And the speed is average, right? Now you look at the Flame Tank. The Flame Tank's health is only 1,000 more, same speed now. So if the Widowmaker is at level 5, right? It's gonna have more health than a Flame Tank. While it moves the same at the same speed, DPS is going to be relatively similar as the Widowmaker, or the Widowmaker's DPS might even be higher. And the Widowmaker is cheaper to build, also while having an anti-air damage as well with its missile pods. So honestly, I don't see the point of using the Flame Tank at all, and this makes me sad. As somebody who likes using the Flame Tank, like, I get it that base rush strategy seems stupid for a lot of players, but if you are a semi-good player, you know how to stop that. And I understand the first nerf on the Flame Tank was needed, but having a second nerf just like completely wrecked this unit, and I don't see anybody using this unit period now, unless you're in the lower ranks, because obviously lower rank players are still not going to understand how Flame Tank rushes how they can stop flame tank rushes. They're still gonna complain about the flame tank. And I feel like this nerf was not catered to players who actually know how to play this game. I think this nerf was catered to players who didn't understand flame tanks, and they just cry about the flame tank rushes that go on their base, because the flame tank rush is not hard to stop, guys. It's really, really not hard to stop. It's very easy, and that's why in the higher leagues you will rarely see anybody using this flame tank. So the flame tank is now garbage. It's garbage. It's like a level 5, like my Widowmaker at level 1 already, it has almost the same amount of DPS, has 1000 lower health, and also has anti-air damage. They now have the same movement speed. So I don't honestly see any point of using the flame tank anymore. One of the benefits of the flame tank was that it could actually move fast, and now it's not fast anymore, it's average. Movement speed mattered a lot for the flame tank, as it could get to places quicker. But why use the flame tank now when you got this thing, when it's cheaper to build, and it's going to be way better at level 5 at the same level, and it's going to be able to attack air as well, right? So the flame tank is dead now. I think it's dead. The only players that are going to use it is lower ranked players. Nobody in the higher rank, even the people some of the people who were using it in the higher ranks, they're not even going to use it at all. Like, they might still use it, but it's a terrible unit now. If you're going to use the flame tank, just go for the Widowmaker. This game killed the flame tank because they wanted to cater to players in the lower ranks who were crying about the flame tank rush, who didn't know how to stop it. But it's kind of sad, because the flame tank, I really liked using this unit. So now the flame tank serves no purpose. All right, so let's go take a look at the second thing here. It's Kayn. Kayn was oppressive when a player was ahead. This change will give players a window where they counter. Okay, so they're trying to say that Kayn got nerfed, right? Because they're saying Kayn was oppressive when a player was ahead. So players would abuse Kayn when you were playing as Kayn and you were ahead of the game, right? You're using this tower very frequently. This change will give players a window where they counter. So the player who's facing against Kayn will now have an easier time to counter the Kayn's tower. Okay, let's take a look at what they did. The Obelisk death timer duration decreased to 30 seconds. Was at 45 seconds. I don't know if I'm reading this right, guys, but what EA said about Kayn's oppressive tower doesn't seem to match with what they did to the death timer duration. Right? Am I reading this right, guys? I'm going to read this one more time. Kayn was oppressive when a player was ahead. This change will give players a window where they counter. Okay, so Kayn's tower was oppressive because you could abuse it. You could build it quickly. I think that's what they're trying to say, which I agree. I think the Kayn's tower was being built too quickly. Even though it had a cooldown timer on it, as soon as I would kill a Kayn tower, which took me a long time to do, it would be back up on the field again, and I'd have to kill it a second time, and it was just so annoying. And if I had vehicle units, or even sometimes infantry units that take a lot of damage to the tower, like this tower was very oppressive. Like, I could not build vehicle units at all, and if I'm building an army that has, like, if I have an army of 3 to 4 vehicle units, I really only have 2 units that can deal damage to this tower, because my vehicle units will die instantly as soon as they get to this tower. So yes, I think this Kayn tower was very oppressive. Also, I thought the death timer, I thought the cooldown timer was low, too low. I think they need to increase that, increase that death timer. But what they did here was the Obelisk death timer duration decreased to 30 seconds. I don't understand this. I don't understand why EA or Redwoods is trying to tell us that the tower was oppressive and they want to give us a chance to fight against it, but you decrease the death timer duration to 30 seconds? Doesn't that mean you can respawn the tower more quickly now? Look, I'm scratching my head here, okay? Unless I'm not understanding English properly here, but I'm pretty sure I'm understanding what's being said here. The Obelisk death timer duration decreased to 30 seconds. Death timer duration, right? That means you can build an obelisk quicker after it dies. I don't understand what Redwoods was trying to do here, or EA, because it doesn't add up. What they're trying to do with this tower, you're trying to make it less oppressive, right? But then they make it more oppressive by decreasing the death timer so you can build it more rapidly, right? You can build it more frequently. You'll see this tower more on the more frequently on the map now, right? So unless I'm reading this wrong, guys, I'm like, I don't even know what EA tried to do with this change. They've just made Kayn stronger, and already Kayn was strong enough. You already, like, 70% of your Nod opponents were Kayn. Like, seriously, every single Nod opponent is Kayn, because Kayn's tower is stupid. His tower is ridiculous. It will counter ground units so easily. It's a ridiculous tower. So this didn't help anything. This change right here on Kayn didn't help anything. In fact, they're going to need to increase that 45 seconds to 60 seconds, all right? Or like 55, because reducing it to 30, not sure what they were trying to do here. Yeah, I'm very disappointed in what EA tried to do here, unless I misread something, guys. But I don't like it. And then there's a whole bunch of bug fixes here. So that's pretty much it. There wasn't too much changes in this patch. I like what they did with the GDI faction units here, and also the militant as well. But I really don't like what they did to the Flame Tank. Flame Tank is dead. It's garbage. It's a garbage Widowmaker. Literally, you shouldn't be using the Flame Tank, period. If you were wasting your credits on this unit, stop doing it. Stop. Just stop. Flame Tank is garbage now, because EA thought, oh, okay, Flame Tank is still too strong. Or they thought all those lower ranked players who were complaining on their forums, they just listened to them. They didn't actually see how the meta was going, because the Flame Tank is now garbage. The Flame Tank wasn't even that great. It was good at killing infantry units mainly, and you could do base rushes with it if you were given a chance. But at higher ranked plays, you're not going to get that chance to base rush, because everyone knows how to counter a Flame Tank. So the Flame Tank is now garbage. It's a terrible unit, and until they rebuff this unit, don't bother using this unit. I'm not using the Flame Tank anymore. I used to love using this unit, and now I'm going to stop using it. I'm going to use the Widowmaker, because there's no point of using the Flame Tank. It's a trash unit now. And Kayn, I don't know what the heck EA was thinking by saying Kayn was too oppressive when the player was ahead, and this change will give players a window where they can counter, but you reduce the death timer duration by 30 seconds? Somebody doesn't know how to write. Somebody doesn't know how to write essays. They don't even know how to write English. Unless my English is messed up, guys. Unless I'm the only one who's reading this wrong. Please tell me in the comments below if I am reading this wrong, because it's kind of triggering me that they actually wrote something this stupid. I don't know who's writing all these messages, who's doing all these buffs, but this was disappointing. These two changes right here for the Nod faction, very disappointing. Basically, Kayn got a buff and Flame Tank is trash now. Great. Yeah, I don't like this. I don't like what they did to the Nod bug fixes, or balance changes there. But that was the wrong move, Redwoods. I don't know who your balance team is, but y'all messed up on those two for sure. Unless I'm reading that Kayn thing wrong, guys. Once again, okay, like, I don't understand who made that post, who made this message. I don't know if he was, like, drunk or something, but everything else looks good except for that last part. They misworded something right there. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you guys think about the new update 1.2.4. What you guys think need to be changed in the game. But yeah, most of it, I mean, not most of it, well, a lot of it, I guess, for the GDI faction here was okay. It's just those two things at the Nod that really bothers me, because Flame Tank is, come on guys, the Flame Tank is useless now. It's a useless unit.